Well, it's the middle of April, and the bees are out on the crimson clover. They've got plenty to eat, nectar and pollen. And so it was quite a surprise to me one day when I was out walking around the clover field and walked over toward the beehives. I heard a buzzing sound, and I saw what no beekeeper wants to see: bees swarming up in a tree. Now this means that half of them have left and taken the queen with them, and they'll swarm in a tree, and that half of the colony will then disappear and go find another place to live. And this is the way bees propagate, but it means you've just lost half of your workforce. Here's some still pictures from the camera. You'll see in hive number 1 on the far right, they start pouring out, and it only takes about 20 minutes for half of the hive to empty out, taking the queen with them. Well, I went running back to the shed and got a third empty colony of beehive boxes and set it up on the far left. You'll see it in a few minutes. Trying to save that colony, trying to hope that they would come down and populate that hive, but they were clustered all up in the tree, getting ready to leave and go find another place to live. Then they did it again about 5 days later. So I went out to take a look and see what's going on. So what I notice here is this hive here, the bees are coming in and out kind of smoothly, not very fast, compared to the hive over there, where they're a lot louder, they're a lot more aggressive, they're flying in and out really fast. They come flying out of there, and they're making lots of noise. There's not nearly the humming coming from this hive over here. You could tell a noticeable difference in the sound volume, and also in the aggressiveness. Bees will do this when they've run out of brood space, so I thought that by adding a third box onto each of the 2 main hives, that maybe I could prevent them from swarming again. But they swarmed again within 5 days, which means that the workforce in that nearest hive was down at a minimum. And what I observed here was that they are now apparently completely queenless. There's a loud roar coming from the hive, and they were acting very aggressive. Fortunately, I had ordered a queen bee. You can see her in the little cage there. She's the long one. The queen cage arrives with a hole stopped up by that white candy you see at the top. And what I'll do is I'll place that queen cage into the hive that's lost its queen. The other bees will eat their way through the hole and allow the queen to come out. She's in there with her little attendant bees right now, that are the smaller size bees that you can see. And that will give the rest of the hive enough time to smell her pheromone and hopefully accept her as the queen. So what you're going to see here is me taking apart hive number 1, taking off that third box that's really not necessary anymore because they never did anything with it, and then taking a look down in there to see how many bees are left. Looked like there were plenty left to form the colony again with the queen. Unfortunately, it looks like about 3 weeks have gone by since they've been queenless, and with only older worker bees in the hive, those will be dying off, and there won't be enough nurse bees left over to take care of the brood that the queen is laying. And so after I put this queen into the hive and close it up for about a week, I will then come back later and put a complete frame full of brood and nurse bees in there so that there'll be enough young bees to tend to the brood that the queen is laying. Otherwise, most of the bees that are in the colony right now are out foraging, and there won't be any to really take care of the new brood that's in the hive. So here I am putting the hive number 1 back together, and then I'll leave that for a week while the queen sends her pheromone throughout the hive and they accept her, and I'll come back in a week and open it up and make sure that she's out of the cage, make sure that she's been accepted, and that the bees are taking care of the eggs that she's laying. So now I've come back a week later, and I'm going to take apart the second hive as well, and I'll move 1 frame of larvae and eggs over from the good hive, the strong hive there in the middle, over to the weak hive on the far right side. There I'm checking to make sure that it looks like there are eggs and larvae, and that the bees that are in the colony are tending to those. I'm removing the top box because I didn't really need that, and I'm removing a frame of brood and nurse bees and moving it over and placing it into the weak hive, so that now there will be some pre-existing eggs and larvae to help build the colony back up to full strength, hoping that everything will work, and a box for the honey deposits on top of that. My colony on the far left never collected the swarm. I was hoping that if the swarm found those boxes, they would come inhabit it, but they didn't. And now we'll sit back and hope that hive number 1 rebuilds to full strength.